Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. So today's question was one that I get asked all the time, and basically it is about IVF. So those that are on the fertility journey like I have been, the question I had today was how many cycles have I done of IVF? So basically a stim cycle is like a stimulated cycle where you actually have the needles and the injections, and then that goes on for usually sort of 1 to 2 weeks, and then you will have an egg pickup. So that's a surgery where you collect eggs, and then after that they will fertilize the eggs in the petri dish and then grow them basically for 3 to 5 days, and then they'll put one back in, which is called a transfer. So that full cycle, I've actually done 5 of those now, but on top of that, I've also done 2 frozen transfers. So a frozen transfer is then when you have actually had eggs that were fertilized from a previous cycle, frozen, and then basically put back in through a transfer, which is just a different way of doing it. And those that are lucky enough to get a frozen embryo don't have to go through the full stim cycle again. So it's a little bit less strenuous on the body. So I have done 5 and 2, so 5 full stimulated cycles plus 2 additional frozen transfers. I am currently not doing IVF. I am on a break at the moment. Lots of people have been asking about, what my plans are at the moment. The reason I'm on a break is because I had a miscarriage in May, and then I've done 2 full stim cycles in September and October back to back, which is quite stressful on the body. So I've had 2 full stim cycles back to back, which has taken its toll, and they actually were like a full failed cycle, meaning I did a fresh embryo transfer in both of those did fail, so I didn't get pregnant, and none of my embryos survived to go to the freezer. So basically when they were grown for that 3 to 5 days, they weren't good enough quality to put in the freezer for a frozen transfer later. So that's considered a failed cycle in terms of I had no outcome. So I didn't get pregnant and I had nothing to freeze. So because of that, we've then done a further investigation to try and look into the reasons why that could have happened, because I've generally been quite good, and my body's receives IVF quite well, and I've always had some freezing to do at the end of a cycle, so it was kind of unusual that would happen. So when we looked into it, we looked at a hysteroscopy. I think that's what you call it. I don't even know. I'm not up with all the lingo, but it's hysteroscopy or histoscopy. It's basically like a curette. So we've looked at getting a surgeon to operate on me in the end of December, which is in a couple of weeks. And I'm going to have a laparoscopy and a hysteroscopy. And basically I am getting a full clean out. So they'll go in and do a keyhole surgery. So they'll insert a couple of holes just in my stomach, in my belly button also, and then just along the pubic hairline. And they go in with some cameras, and they will basically look at what's going on in there and do a full clean out. So they'll do it basically like a curette. So that's where they sort of shave the inside of the endometrial lining. So it's just to try and make everything in there nice and fresh and new and all cleaned out, and make sure there's no scar tissue and no endometriosis, and that everything is basically ready for an embryo to be implanted. So we're doing this because when I did have my miscarriage in May, I didn't have a D&C, which most people generally would have after a miscarriage. They would go for a D&C. But for me, I actually did have my miscarriage in the emergency up at the local hospital. And they did an ultrasound after the miscarriage happened, and it looked like pretty much all of the internal matter and the embryo and everything had passed. So they weren't concerned. They did see that there was 30 mils of matter still inside the uterus, but they thought my body would just pass that naturally. So what's happened is I haven't had any follow-ups from that, which is kind of, I just was overlooked. And, we just didn't investigate that further. But now, since we've seen that the 2 cycles failed, we've then looked at it and thought, you know what, maybe we should have gone in and done a D&C and basically had that clean out. So that's when we've taken the option to do these 2 surgeries, which is in just a couple of weeks. So the plan is that basically I'll have the surgery done, I'll stay in overnight, and I'll get out the next day. So it's only 1 day that I'll be in and 1 night. I'll get out the next day. I will have to rest for a few days. We will take a break for probably about another 4 to 6 weeks after that, and then we will start another full stimulated cycle after that. So I'll be back onto the hormones, back on the injections, and basically go again. So for those that have been asking, I know a lot of people were interested in giving, you know, heaps of feedback on things that they suggested that we should do, but we actually do have a plan in place, and that is the plan, and we're hoping that this is, you know, the clean out that I need, that's just going to get that that little baby implanting and staying there. So fingers crossed, 2019 is our year, and we're really, really excited, and we hope that that IVF is going to work. We will try and keep everyone posted on where we're at with that, and we will continue to do so through, you know, vlogs and the and through this channel. So make sure that you subscribe so that you keep up to date. Talk to you all soon.